Thanks, Erin, for that introduction. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Hideko Tachibana, and I'm the CEO of FOMO.com. If you haven't heard of us, we're a social proof marketing platform that helps optimize conversions for your site. So, at this conference, you're no doubt hearing about more marketing tools and channels. And so, why should you care about social proof as yet another strategy to think about? Well, how do people shop these days? People reach your page, maybe through an ad or direct search. And then after a few seconds, they open up five other tabs to do comparison shopping and research. This is how I shop. I don't know if this is how you shop. We are not known as the most focused generation. And before you know it, you've totally lost your prospect. So all the work that you put into SEO search rankings, content, search ads, like we just learned about, and word of mouth to get the visitor actually to your site is just the starting point to that visitor's purchasing journey. And not to be a negative Nancy, but we do have to remember this. The stats, I'm sure you've all heard them, are not friendly to us either. Fewer than 3% of e-commerce store visitors convert to a sale. The average session is less than 1 minute, and most users bounce within 15 seconds. So, we're all working with limited time in real estate on your website where you can do everything that you need to do from telling the story, building credibility, and having that strong call to action. And to top it all off, consumers are getting smarter these days, and they are more skeptical today about ads and copy that they read on a website. So, this is real copy that I found on some websites within a couple of minutes. I'm not going to say who they were, but I found them very quickly. A real estate firm says, "We provide each and every client with the best real estate experience imaginable." A used car dealership says, "With competitive prices offered, you won't find a reason to visit any other dealership." And a fashion brand claims, "We have cute dresses every woman needs." So, asking you guys, what do you think of these statements? Do you believe these statements about having the best real estate experience imaginable, the best prices, and the most fashionable styles? Well, if you thought that these vague statements make the company actually seem less trustworthy, I would agree with you, and I think most others would too. So, the effective alternative is to actually give people what they really care about when they are making purchasing decisions online. And what people really want to know is just, what do other people say about you? What do other people like them say about you? So, in order to build trust with your audience, these days you need to show rather than to tell. You need to use your customers' voices to build credibility and confidence with your new prospects. Because the truth of the matter is that no one cares what you say about you, they care what your customers say about you. And this is all leading up to the term for this bandwagon effect you feel from social cues. It's called social proof, and it is a social phenomenon that is rooted in all of our psychologies as humans. Social proof is widely known, but not always well understood. But if you harness it correctly, you can build trust and credibility with your audience in a more organic and effective way. And that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? We're actually familiar with social proof in our daily lives. So, Black Friday is coming up, and everyone acts totally crazy on that day. I don't know how it is in Europe, but in the US, people camp out overnight to visit a store first thing in the morning. They're screaming and running. People are even trampled and hurt on these days. And if you haven't heard of this, if this is just a US phenomenon, I would just YouTube like Walmart Black Friday craziness. But you couldn't do this any other day of the year. But because everyone else acts this way on Black Friday, it's considered socially acceptable behavior. Something that everyone is familiar with. It's also the feeling you get when you walk by a crowded restaurant. You know, you walk by, you see it's busy, it instantly becomes more desirable and attractive. And you feel like you're missing out on something special. It's that feeling of FOMO, which stands for fear of missing out. Okay, so we're able to recognize what social proof seems like in the wild, but what exactly is it? And what is the psychology behind it? Social proof is a behavior signal. Social proof is more effective when you don't know how to behave, because that's when you look around for whatever the popular behavior is and try to replicate it. Here is an example of that. In 2008, the HMRC in the UK used the slogan, even if one person fails to pay their taxes, it reduces the services and resources that are provided. That is a good slogan. It conveys the cause and effect of the individual's decision to pay taxes. It's informative. That's nice. But then in 2009, they changed the slogan to something much more simple. 9 out of 10 people in Britain pay their tax on time. Believe it or not, this resulted in a 29% higher clearance rate of people paying their taxes. These folks saw that most others were paying taxes on time and did the same because they thought that that was the popular behavior to do. Which leads me to my next point, which is that social proof is more powerful in situations of uncertainty or ambiguity. And if you think about it, that's exactly what a consumer transaction is in a nutshell. It's information asymmetry to the max, where the seller knows more about the product than the buyer knows. So naturally, there is a lot of uncertainty for the buyer. Let's look at this more closely through a study. In 1969, a study was done to see how male undergraduates react when walking on a street and hearing a female actress cry out in pain. They were less likely to offer help when strangers were around who weren't helping, and they were more likely to help when they were alone and the only people around. You might have heard of this as somewhat of the bystander effect. The study found that in these sort of ambiguous situations where you don't know what to do, each bystander may look to others for guidance before acting. And it means that they are more influenced by what others are doing than what they think they should be doing. As much as we don't like to admit it, we all have this subconscious that's at work that we can't control who is afraid to act differently. More recently, there was also a 2012 study that compared the effectiveness of two different online persuasion claims. The first claim was about limited product availability. So, an example of this would be saying that there are only 3 items left. The second claim was about product popularity. So, for example, saying 94% of consumers bought this product after viewing the site. Consumers were shown the different claims, and then they were later asked to rank the product quality from 1 to 7. And the results from the study are shown here. The popularity claim appeared to enhance quality perception and purchase intention, especially for the risk averse consumers. And on the other hand, the limited availability claim exerted no influence as far as statistical significance was concerned. That is pretty powerful stuff. The finding is that the popularity claim had much more of an impact on purchase intention. This experiment is one example of the power of social proof, even over scarcity and urgency. Something else I found interesting about it was that the popularity claim had an actual perception shift in the product. People actually thought that the quality of the product was better just because they thought others liked it. Another layer of social proof theory is to understand here is herd conformity. Here is a funny social hidden camera segment that captures herd conformity. Erin, would you mind helping me out with this video?
We set up a hidden camera experiment to see if this woman would stand up at the sound of this tone, simply because everyone else is. You might be thinking you'd never go along with this. Or would you? After just 3 beats, and without knowing why she's doing it, this woman is now conforming perfectly to the group. But what happens if we take the group away?
Elaine, please.
Okay, now she's alone. The crowd is gone, and nobody is watching her, except our hidden cameras. What do you think she'll do? She's now conforming to the rules of the group without them even being there. Now, watch what happens when we introduce another outsider who doesn't know the rules.
Have a seat, and they'll be out in just a couple minutes. Thanks so much. Everybody was doing it, so I thought I was supposed to.
Think she'll teach the new guy what to do? We kept the cameras rolling as more unsuspecting patients arrived. And slowly but surely, what began as a random rule for this woman has now become the social norm for everyone in this waiting room.
When I saw everybody stand up, I felt like I needed to join them. Otherwise, I'm like excluded. Once I decided to go with it, then I felt much more comfortable.
Yeah, I've watched that video a lot, many times, and it still is funny to me. And I wonder if that would be my experience too, if a social experiment like that were performed on me. But the interesting part here was the tension and the awkwardness in not doing what everyone else was doing, as the subject explained in the interview. The subject felt much more comfortable when she started standing and sitting too, along with the group, even if it was pretty ridiculous behavior. Normative conformity is the tendency to behave in certain ways in order to be accepted by a group, and it's very powerful. The presence of peers impacts brain activity and leads to changes in risk taking and trust decisions, there is a whole host of neurological evidence on that. As social psychologist Robert Cialdini puts it as a rule, we will make fewer mistakes by acting in accord with social evidence than contrary to it. Usually, when a lot of people are doing something, it is the right thing to do. I guess that's pretty different from what our parents told us when we were growing up. Like most things, there is a caveat here. It cuts the other way too. Be careful of negative social proof, which is anything that demonstrates that people think your product is bad. A social share icon can demonstrate your brand's popularity, but if you only have 10 shares on a post, it's actually best to remove it. And here's why. In 2007, the IRS added penalties for tax evasion. When explaining their reasoning, the IRS emphasized that the penalties were needed because large numbers of people were falsifying returns. So, guess what happened the next year? That year, identified cases of tax fraud increased by 22%. With the IRS's message, they were actually inadvertently normalizing tax fraud by saying lots of people were doing it. The fraud became the popular behavior. So, all to say here, it's better to have no social proof than to have negative social proof. Now that we have an idea of what social proof is, let's talk strategy. Here are 10 tactics you can start using today to employ social proof as a marketing principle. Testimonials and reviews are a great way to display social proof. Here's some stats you've probably heard. The average consumer reads 10 online reviews before making a purchase decision. 90% of prospects say that their purchasing decisions are impacted by customer reviews. So, with this data in mind, if you know they are going to find your reviews anyway, you might as well put these reviews directly on your site so that your visitor does not have to leave to go to Google, Yelp, Trustpilot, influencer blogs, wherever else people are going these days to read what others say about you and potentially lose that customer to the black hole of the internet. A second way to use social proof is to show off the wisdom of the crowd in aggregate. In the 19th century, the French theater and opera hired these so-called claques to applaud during the encore of a performance. This would encourage others to clap along and, get an encore going. In modern day, this is replicated with laugh tracks for sitcoms. Studies showed that the laugh tracks make the audience laugh longer and rate the material as funnier. And when applying this tactic to marketing a product or service, this can be done with a message that shows off the aggregate engagement. So things like your total number of customers, total sales, total chocolate bars made, whatever makes sense for your business. Kind of like how McDonald's started doing it in 1955. They popularized a slogan, over 1 million served, and they've since continued by increasing the number to whatever is accurate in present day. Highlighting the popularity or large numbers of users implies that, hey, 1 million people can't be wrong, and that's quite a powerful message. Another related way to harness social proof is relying on the wisdom of friends and family. According to Nielsen, 92% of consumers put more trust into what their friends and family buy than any other form of advertising or marketing. Dropbox is a prime example of a company that capitalized on this concept super well. They gave extra storage space to both the refer and the referees through like this friend-to-friend referral program, if you remember it. I think they're still doing it today. But Dropbox referrals increased signups by 60% permanently when they added this referral program. That is huge. Another tactic is real-time user activity. This is actually what we do at FOMO. We help users show off real-time activity in the form of these notifications that show up on your site. These notifications increase the trust, the credibility, and eventually conversions, showing off a live feed of what's going on in your store at any given time. And this is supposed to help businesses convey the online equivalent of a busy store, aka that FOMO feeling. Social norms are more compelling when people are shown evidence that the behavior is already being practiced by people who are just like them. The key words there are just like them. And it makes sense that a recommendation should have more influence when it comes from a peer versus a stranger, like just common sense wise. We're more likely to trust our neighbor's stamp of approval than that anonymous stranger's one-star Yelp review that we don't know. An example of this in practice, which I think is pretty cool, is that the green tech company Opower had an 80% response rate increase when they started sending emails that compared the household's energy use versus their neighborhood's energy use. So the recipients of these emails, these families, saw that others like them in their neighborhood were conserving more electricity than they thought. And that's what activated them and encouraged them to change. So I encourage you to think hard about how to define your prospect's tribe that could help with your next social proof campaign, or at least add some social proof to your next campaign. The expert. So getting an authority figure or expert to endorse the product is another use of social proof. The idea is that the trust is placed in the expert, who is the more knowledgeable figure in the domain. So like the people in the audience trust the expert, and then that trust rubs off on your product or service. And we see this happening widely in skincare these days. Nowadays, doctors and estheticians are being made the face and name of the product, even if they likely aren't very involved in the formulation or the operations of the product at all. It's just their name that is valuable to the product and the brand. That's because social proof plus authority equals a massive potential increase in consumer trust. So think about the industry leaders, maybe some company endorsements, whatever that might be, that might work well for your business and industry, and get them, that expert, to speak to your audience on your behalf. You can also get validated by an institution, a board, an organization. Depending on your industry, it might be worth the effort. So, for example, we've maybe you guys have heard of this. The Michelin star is a mark of distinction awarded by the Michelin travel guides to restaurants of the highest standards. A study showed that the introduction of the Michelin guide not only generated a price premium effect of about 30%, but also a surge in the perception of the quality of the food, the decor, and the service. Even when the menu and service hadn't changed from before and after the being awarded that Michelin star. And that makes you question what you were paying for when you're eating at a Michelin star restaurant, but that's besides the point. it's still powerful social proof that changes the perception of what people perceive to be your product. The influencer or celebrity opinion can also be helpful. Starting in 1996, once a year, Oprah releases a list of her favorite things. Because placement on this list is so coveted, she has an entire team that helps her source, recommend a curated list all year round, and then Oprah herself flies to their headquarters to see everything in person. They have a little party, they make final selections. They put a lot of time into this because she is so aware that her stamp of approval is so valuable that, people all around the world are looking at her list of favorite things and buying things off of it because they trust her. So if an influential person is willing to promote the product with their face and their name, that's seen as a powerful signal, and people understand that. Influencers have the power to affect the purchasing decisions of others because of many things: their authority, their knowledge, their position, the close relationships that they fostered over the years with their audience. And, you can pay a pretty penny and get some influencers to help you market your brand. Here is a stat if you aren't convinced. Twitter found that influencers created a 5.2 times increase in purchase intent when users were exposed to both the brand and influencer tweets compared to 2.7 times when just shown the brand tweets. So that is a 2 times more powerful effect when influencers get involved. Now, there is a whole subject that I'm not going to get into today about being mindful of choosing the right influencers to get ROI for your brand. So, like, maybe not the Kardashians of the world who, have a large audience, but might not be close with their audience. But that is a subject for another day. Next is publishing case studies with specific customers. So you can ask your customers to talk in depth about how they use your product or service, and you can ask them to talk about their story as well. And case studies are actually super helpful for the part of the purchasing decision funnel when the buyer is starting to evaluate you more closely versus your competitors. A case study is, in effect, a story, and stories fascinate people and are often much more easily remembered than facts. Again, I'll repeat that. Case studies and stories are often more easily remembered than facts. So the data on the subject shows that consumers who are exposed to the brand story describe the brand in much more positive terms and are willing to pay more for the product. And we practice what we preach here. We share our case studies frequently as marketing material at our own company, FOMO. During sales calls, support tickets, newsletters, for co-marketing with our integration partners. Basically wherever it makes sense and wherever people ask for it, we make sure that prospects have access to specific stories about how companies that are similar to them in size and industry. So, we're also playing to the wisdom of the tribe stuff that we talked about earlier. So we're making sure that they have access to the case studies that showed that people similar to them were able to achieve growth with our product. Virality. This final social proof strategy that I'm going to cover today is about virality and PR, a combination of pushing that urgency and social proof can lead to virality, where people are huddling around something interesting because it's happening right here, right now. The Girlfriend Collective is a yoga brand, and they spent their entire marketing budget during launch on giving their leggings away for free. I was also a part of this as a customer. But for a limited time, if you paid just for the cost of shipping, the brand would send you a pair of $100 leggings for free, and all you had to do was share a link to its website on Facebook. And using this model, the Girlfriend Collective sold 10,000 pairs of leggings just on the first day of the campaign. That is pretty wild stuff. Yeah, so there's a lot more. Here is a more complete list of digital marketing specific strategies to think about to add social proof for your marketing strategy. So if you've zoned out already, I'm sorry, but I think this is where you'd wake up and take a screenshot, look through and figure out what you're missing in your current marketing toolkit that might work well for your business. Does it work? Does social proof work? Well, since FOMO is a social proof product, we also have data that shows that social proof as it relates to FOMO does indeed work. And here are how a couple different businesses are using social proof. Proximo launched in 2013. They are a 100% bootstrapped business located in Denmark. They're founded by two best friends who created an online course teaching the Microsoft Office suite. They've been around for a long time, but were looking for ways to kickstart conversions. They wanted something that could be implemented quickly while having significant ROI. So they tested their page showing off the popularity of their most purchased product. So, for example, saying things like 19 people just purchased this course, this specific course. And with FOMO enabled, clicks to their checkout page increased by 45%. Ed Lattimore is somewhat well known in the US. He is a former professional heavyweight boxer, author, overcomer of addictions, and a self-improvement role model. I recommend you check him out if you haven't heard of him. His business is his website, where he hosts the courses, books, and content he's created around the writing and self-improvement space. So Ed uses notifications to display on his website in real time 3 types of activities. So when someone joins his newsletter, when someone joins his membership program, or when someone buys one of his products. After he started showing off this customer engagement, his sales conversions for direct traffic visitors went from 11% to 21%. So the social proof of Ed's sales worked really well for him specifically because his blog is well known and the most common entry point for his site. So very often when people land on his website, it's from a specific piece of content that they're interested in reading. They stick around. They aren't necessarily looking to buy anything, but FOMO lets the new prospects see that things are selling. It gets them interested, and then they start checking out his products. Fabulous Flowers is a boutique florist that launched in Cape Town, South Africa. They are a family business that creates luxury blooms for same-day delivery. Their primary marketing strategies were basic SEO work and content creation and direct referrals. So they started adding these FOMO notifications that showed off customer reviews and a notification for each time someone purchased. So as I said before, their thing was same-day flower delivery. So it was really important for them to show off a busy store. You know, the fact that other customers are trusting them to get their flowers same day too, that was really powerful for them. And this is actually a dashboard that we have in our UI, in the FOMO UI. But Fabulous Flowers had $17,000 in click-through conversion sales, which is the click-through conversion sales is calculated from visitors who just clicked on the notifications alone and then convert it to a sale. Final example here is Hello Guru. They are an online course platform teaching students how to create websites and web apps and get certified in no-code tools. They have a growth team, and they were focused on mailing campaigns and automations, but they were still facing the problem of a high bounce rate and a low conversion to sign up. They found us by seeing a notification from another website, and they wanted to digitize the effect of a restaurant full of people. After adding these notifications that show off the live traffic on their website at any given time of other students taking courses on their site, their Google Analytics showed them that there was a 23% increase in conversion to signups, after installing the FOMO widget. So, you can read more at blog.fomo.com. Remember, I'm just wrapping up here. Remember that social proof is ingrained in our human psyche. In a tribal society, following the crowd meant that you didn't get eaten by the lion, that you didn't eat the poisonous berry. It was very helpful for survival back in the day. It's the mental shortcut, and we're facing a lot of decisions. So just look around and see what everyone else is doing. And even though we haven't lived in a tribal hunter-gatherer society in a while, we're still predisposed to that kind of normative social behavior. And since marketing is actually just about understanding how humans think, feel, reason, and make decisions, I encourage you to look into how you could be using more social proof for your business today and try it out. So today we learned that if you want to make customers feel confident in their purchase, or even just convince them to try your product to begin with, social proof is a very valuable tool. We learned the psychology behind social proof theory, and we covered 10 tactics to use social proof marketing for your business starting today. Thank you all for sticking with me. I really appreciate the time to chat with you all. Again, my name is Hideko, and you can say hi or ask questions at h@fomo.com to reach me directly. And I think I will answer one question. I love this. Will I be able to rewatch later? Yes, I believe that everything will be posted later, but I'll let Aaron answer that. I'll answer one other question, which is, for which stages of a business is social proof useful? So, social proof, the answer is all stages. It can be useful across all stages of the business life cycle, from early days to a fully mature company. But they can be useful for different reasons depending on the problems you're trying to address. So, for example, at the very beginning, early stage of the company cycle, when you are still trying to create credibility, you want to just show that your operation is legitimate. You want to show off that you are responding to support tickets, that you have other people trust you, that other people are buying products and signing up to your newsletter, and so on. The later stage of the company cycle, when people aren't questioning your credibility perhaps anymore, they might be on your page, but they might just need a little more nudging to convert, right? So you might use social proof to inform them, this is the most popular product, appeal to the wisdom of the tribe strategy to say, people in your neighborhood, people in Austin, which is where I am, your peers are also on the site and are already converting. So reasons to use social proof can apply to all stages of a business: competitive differentiation, to provide reinforcement to a customer, like a returning customer, or maybe some post-purchase satisfaction, People just want to feel good that they're fans of a product that other people are fans of. So long-winded way of saying yes, your use case and intention might differ, but social proof can be effective for different reasons at different stages of the life cycle. So I will end it there and pass it back over to Aaron.